You're listening to the Level 5 podcast, featuring wide-ranging conversations on the subjects that matter in business and management.
You did mention, and I know you have a very strong opinion on this, and it's what brought you and I together originally, but this whole idea of you can make a product and sell a product in the marketplace, or you can build a brand that creates value in the marketplace. And you chose, no, I want to build a brand. I don't want to just make a product and sell a product. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about why you made that decision and what the difference between the two is for you.
Well, I think there's a huge difference, first of all, and anyone can sell a product. And I'm not saying all products are glamorous, and our product is not glamorous. It's actually very basic. It doesn't really get much more basic than that. And what we were able to do by building a brand is like having that emotional connection with your customer is such a critical piece, because as your brand evolves and changes over time, as competitors come into the space, for us, that was the biggest part. And we were so focused on education and just the actual features and function of the product, that when we were starting getting inundated with competitors, that could have been the end for us. But the work that we had already done with the brand and continue to really establish has created a much stronger company and sustained us over time. Even
stronger
as
how? If you could help us under, like, when you say stronger.
Well, we have such a loyal following, and we started also going from functions of the actual product, because we almost grew past that, where we didn't have to explain the basics of the product anymore, and really focusing on the brand and who is Diva and what do we do and what does Diva Cup stand for and what does Diva stand for, and a lot of that work we've done with your team, and creating more direct points to talk to our consumers. So we just created Diva Squad, so it's like a separate Facebook group just for our consumers. So we have more ways to communicate with them, and also through customer service, through excellent, exceptional customer service. That is another piece of the branding that's been really critical.
And would you tie those elements to why you've got such a loyal consumer base? I mean, you've got advocates, not just purchasers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely one of the main things I think that keeps people. And we have lost some, I wouldn't say we've lost market share with some of the bigger guys coming into the market. We've had softer growth, but we've maintained, which is still, considering how much has changed in our category in the last year, that's still a huge win as we reposition ourselves to continue hitting hard and launching new products and diversifying and all these great things that we're working on. Yeah, and that whole thing with the movement and becoming a certified B Corp, I cannot tell you the value I believe that has brought to the brand.
And so, because I just saw somebody ask the question, so I'll jump on it because I think it's a good one right now based on what you just said. How have you, over the 19 years, continued to evolve and reiterate the product and extend it into these new areas? Because now the brand is not just about the actual product. It's, you talk about these Facebook squads, and those are all ways to engage with the brand, right? How have you continued to reiterate the brand?
So I mean, we had so many years where it was such an uphill battle in the beginning. So I feel like we really started reiterating the brand in the last 7 or 8 years. Before that, most of our work was just, pounding the pavement and building that distribution. So I know that we've been around for quite a long time, but I do feel like most of our true marketing has happened in the last 5 to 7 years. We've always done it, but we have barely had any budget. So social media, digital marketing has been critical. Influencer marketing, just consumers are making purchase decisions so differently now.
Mm.
And that was a big shift because the buyers, especially in the mass market, they expect the traditional. They did for a very long time. They expected traditional marketing. They wanted to see the annual print campaign and TV campaign. But we learned over time, especially in the last 5 years, that those mechanisms were no longer effective. And we had to pivot. And we're basically putting almost all of our budget into digital and to social media and to influencer marketing, because this is the way that people are making decisions now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I want to maybe put a bow on this whole area of entrepreneurship, and just, you've had 19 very successful years. If you looked at one or two of the high points and maybe one or two of the mistakes, you said when we were warming up, you probably got more
Yeah,
mistakes than high points.
we
And
have
most
a lot of
entrepreneurs,
mistakes, that's for sure.
I'm the same way with my firm. But I mean, if you think about the maybe one defining victory and the one defining mistake that really made you a better entrepreneur, what would those be?
Well, I think the biggest success was actually the turning point for our company, and that was in when we finally got into Shoppers Drug Mart in around 2014. Um, that had been a very long time coming. It may have been 2013. I get really mixed up with the dates now, but it was around that time. And just a quick story, and this is just how the universe works in very mysterious ways, but we had this opportunity to do a Times Square Jumbotron ad in New York City, which gets like, I don't know, 14 million people a day walk through there. And it was 24 hours a day, 4 times an hour for a whole year. And it was like the most money we'd ever spent. It was discounted at $60,000. That was more than we'd ever spent on anything ever. And so it was a huge decision. And the only reason why we even got this opportunity is Carnival Cruise had that spot and one of their ships sank. They had to back out. And then the sales rep for that space actually used our product and just randomly was like, I'm going to call up Diva Cup because she loved our product. And so she calls us up and we have this conversation. I'm like, I remember my mom and I talking about it and just saying, like, can we do this? Like, this is crazy. We don't even have any retailers in New York. We had like 5 health food stores in all of New York. And we're like, how are we gonna even pull this off? And I don't know, it was like a gut feeling. We had to do it. We had to do it. So that was one of the points, like defining moments, I think, in my life, because we took that chance. And sure enough, the buyer for Shoppers Drug Mart saw that banner,
In
saw
New
that
York City.
Jumbotron in New York City. And then we had an ad in a trade publication. We had a full page ad in Flair magazine, and our buyers, our sales team, which we're building our team now at this point, went in and she's like, oh, you guys are everywhere. I saw you in Times Square. So anyway, so that was a miracle, and we ended up getting in Shoppers. It did very well the first year, and from that point, that kind of started the ball rolling with the other retailers. A lot of the American retailers looked to Shoppers Drug Mart as a case study, and it was doing well. So our first American retailer was CVS. So our next account after Shoppers was in 8,000 stores. We're now in over 65,000 retail stores in the world.
Wow.
So it's just unreal how far we've come. But that I will never forget, that whole thing.
Yeah, it sounds so undisciplined, but sometimes just being in the right place at the right time, right?
I know there was no strategy behind it at all. So
Yeah.
not everything, at least at that point, not everything. We weren't sophisticated enough to have strategy around everything. But that was part of our mistakes too. In the early days, I think I mentioned this too, that we tried to do everything and realized after a while that we were our own worst enemy and I was getting in my own way.
Yeah.
And as soon as we started actually building a team, we were able to just move so much faster. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day. If you're every department in your company for 11 years, it's not sustainable, and you're not going to get the impact that you really, really need. You have to take that risk to get to the next level. And then once we started building the team, and I think this would go really nicely into your question about the new four P's that we can talk about. But having challenges with our team, then we kind of didn't know how to manage people and didn't know how to build a team, and ended up having a lot of issues with that, and have learned a lot around that, kind of giving too much control and running into all kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, let me maybe take the opportunity then to say, if you were to act as a mentor right now to the people on the line, to other female entrepreneurs looking to start up businesses, what would be the one word of advice or wisdom you might want to give them as they go to start up a business? What would it be?
I have to still say there's many things, but the one thing is to be patient, and you just don't stop. You cannot stop. Be unstoppable, keep going. And our business, the whole way, was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I remember points it being devastating. I mean, those no's are devastating. You think it's the end of the business. We had crazy things happening. We had lawsuits with customers. We've had some crazy things happen along the way. But at the end, you're still moving forward, and you can't let those things stand in the way. And it takes time. I mean, you cannot build a brand overnight. Even today, people think with social media that you can build a brand overnight. No, nothing happens overnight. Look at even the best musicians out there, the best bands that are worldwide famous were doing it for years before they ever made it.
Right. So that is interesting in terms of, it sounds as though if you looked at the vision that you and your mom may have set when you started the company, how far along the path are you to actually achieving that vision? Are you 10% of the way, 50%? I mean, you were out to change the world and a category in the world. So, I mean, that's a major vision.
I think we've achieved our initial vision. I think we've kind of surpassed what we even knew was possible. We had no idea that we could even become a $30 million company. Like that, those kind of numbers I couldn't fathom anything like that. We always thought that if we could become 1% of the market, of the menstrual care market, that would be like completely mind-blowing. And we're actually 2% of the menstrual care market, which still completely blows my mind.
Yeah.
And but at this point, it's interesting because you come all this way and the vision's still there, but it's definitely expanded and evolved. And at this point, I feel like we're just getting started. There's
Yeah.
so much opportunity now. Whereas I think in the early days, I was just buried in the day to day and buried in the challenges. And now we just see it from a completely different perspective.
That's interesting. So along that journey, the past 19 and maybe looking out the next 19 years, having the kind of support network you talked about, both family and friends and employees, the team that you built, but also you probably had one or two mentors along the way that were there that just weren't involved in the day-to-day of the business, but were always people that you could turn to.
Yeah.
Is that true? And if so, maybe you could just talk about the importance of mentorship.
Yeah, we definitely had some mentors, I would say, that were kind of more involved in the business along the way, that were kind of consultants, or we always outsourced a lot of things because we were so small and we were running from the home. We always tried to bring in external people to help us along the journey. It wasn't until really recently, quite recently, I would say in the last 5 years, that I discovered peer-to-peer groups. I joined Tech Canada. Well, I mean, we did some mentoring. I'm part of Quantum Shift. Actually, that's how we met, through Anita Dong, who's one of my Quantum Shift. She's definitely been one of my mentors, and has really guided me along the way.
So it's important to have them, is what you're saying.
Sorry, I do find it's very important, and I wish I would have put more emphasis on seeked mentorship earlier. I think we could have avoided a lot of issues along the way, and saved a lot of hardship.
Yeah. Well, I know I want to save time for the questions, but I've got to ask you the one last question because of where we are all in our lives right now. But COVID-19, what's that done to Diva and its game plan? And how are you managing it well? Is it throwing you curveballs that are tough to deal with? Because some people it's a blessing, and some people it's a curse. How about Diva?
For us, it's been really interesting. We responded really quickly, moving our team to home. That's been unbelievably successful. Our team, from a team perspective, has just carried on. I think things move a little bit slower, but generally we've accomplished so much in the last 5-6 months. It's unbelievable. And we're actually, I think, going to adopt a more work from home format moving forward, because it's been so successful and people really enjoy the flexibility for their lives. Where we've struggled, okay, so initially we actually had panic buying as people were stocking up on menstrual supplies. So we had a huge spike in March and April in our sales. And then it kind of softened a little bit, and it's kind of stabilized. But where we've really struggled has been with our international business, because it's so uncertain, and our international business has really been growing quite a bit. And we usually take payment in advance, and a lot of our international customers are really hesitant to pay in advance. So like, what if we can't get the product? What if something happens? Like, there's a lot more uncertainty in actually doing business internationally in this current climate.
Yeah.
So we had probably about 5 or 6 big orders that were supposed to go out last month, and we haven't been able to process them yet. And they haven't been on the books. So, we're kind of navigating that, putting new things in place to support that. But luckily, all of our partnerships with our manufacturer and our assembly plant have been able to continue as essential services. And it's been such a blessing that we've been able to still actually grow our company. And we had our best year end ever, and end of April.
That's great.
During that time.
That's great. Wonderful.
Thanks to you, our listeners, for tuning in to Strategy Lounge, the Level 5 podcast. To learn more about our work, please visit level5strategy.com.